Hey there, welcome to 9 to 5 Gamers, and today we're doing a Before You Buy Root edition, right? So Root is a game that a lot of people have considered buying. I saw a lot of people on Facebook saying, hey Root, is this a game that I would be interested in? So the main purpose of this video is to show you a little bit about what the game is like and maybe some pros and cons to the game. But the idea is to try to help you, the consumer, know if you want to purchase this game or not. Now, if you're looking for a review, we're not doing a review of this, but I can tell you it is a 10 out of 10 for me personally. But again, that's subjective. It's going to get a golden lunchbox because I love this game. It's actually my #1 game of all time. Spoiler for my top 10s. But if you're interested in Root, I think right now on BGG it's sitting at an 8.1, but it is a very, very good game. However, there are some things that you need to be aware of before you buy this game. Number one, first thing you need to know is, I think the most important thing, it's an asymmetric game. What that means is that every single player is going to have their own faction that they're playing as. They have their own mechanics, their own things that they are working towards, their own goals. There's their own way of winning, and so it's one of those games where it can be tough to teach. With any asymmetric game, it has a lot of issues with teaching the game and how it works. Because not only are there general rules to the game, but then specific rules to the player. The player might be looking at their cats and going, "Oh man, I have this cat faction. What am I supposed to be doing here?" You want to build a whole bunch of buildings. Oh, okay, I don't have any buildings to build. I don't understand. Oh, that's because you're the vagabond. I'm going to get to you in a second, right? Like, you can very much get into a place where you have to explain the factions to each other. And so that's something to keep in mind. Asymmetry is a big part of this game. As a matter of fact, there are a ton of expansions that just add more factions to the game. This is the most recent of those expansions, the Marauders expansion. And so, yeah, there's a ton of expansions and content for the game, and it's all really, really good. But again, you have to like asymmetry, and you have to have the right play group for it. People who are gamers, like people who enjoy games. Game is pretty complex because of the asymmetry. It's not super complex in the sense where it's like, this is impossible to understand. It's not. But it is a little bit more on the complex side. I'd say it's between medium heavyweight, not medium light, but still midway through. Another thing you need to know, it is a lot of times a very basic area majority, area control type game. And if you don't like games like that, you might not like this game. Another thing that's a part of that, because you have this big map and there's a lot of territory control where you're trying to control certain areas, those games, I feel, and I think this is true with the majority of these types of games, except for maybe a few, but the vast majority of area control or area majority games, you need to play with a full player count. This plays with 4 players. You need to play with 4. This game is meant to be played with 4. It does play with 2, but the thing is that some factions play better at 2 than they do at 4, and some play just not that great, and you can find yourself at a massive disadvantage. The game is not well balanced. After they added a lot of the hirelings and the different decks that they sell, you can buy a lot of that extra content, and it will balance the game out a lot better, but it's really not meant to be a 2-player game. It does have an expansion where you can play solo, or you can play against robot AIs called the Clockwork expansions. Not sure that I recommend those, just because I don't enjoy that. For me, this game shines when you just play with 3 to 4 players. I think 3 to 4 is the best, but I think 4 is better. When you play with 4 players, always understand that games always scale. It's very rare where you find a game that no matter what player count you play at, it's going to end in the same amount of time. For every game that I've played, it's always like, hey, this is 30 minutes per player, right? And so the understanding that when you get into this game, it's not going to be short, right? It's going to be a long game. So if you don't enjoy long games, you may sit there for your first playthrough. Might be about 3 hours to do the teach, get through the rules, play an actual game out. So I recommend that you know what you're getting into. This is I classify them as only game we're playing tonight type games, right? Like there are some games where it's like, hey, we're doing game night at the house. We are not going to play a ton of games. We're playing one game. It's going to be Root, and that's it. You may be able to play like maybe a 5-minute card game at the end of it, but for the most part, this will be the only thing you play that night if you're trying to have like a game night. But if you have an all-day game session, you can definitely get in a couple of plays of this. So playtime can be very long, but once everybody knows how to play, then that's where the game starts to pick up, and you can actually play these games relatively quick for what you're getting yourself into. Now, another thing to take into account is that the game does have a lot of expansions, so you will be spending a lot of money on the game. But that money is well spent if you really enjoy it, right? My recommendation, do not buy Root and a bunch of expansions. Buy the core box. I would even recommend finding people who are willing to play it. Find a person who has a copy of it that you can play it first, and figure out if it's a game that you want to play or not. This game rewards people who play it frequently, right? The more you play this game, the more you're gonna love it. If you only play it one time, you'll probably say, that was really fun, but the next time you play it may be a very long time. I highly recommend that I'd say that any leader game all of the leader games are built that you need to play these a lot in order for you to get accustomed to how they really operate. But apart from all of that, like, I know that a lot of this stuff sounds negative, and that's because I'm trying to make sure that you don't go out and buy something that you're not going to want. As a matter of fact, an easy way to know if you're going to like this game or not is to play the app. They have a Root app that you can actually buy. I don't remember if the game was free or if the base game you have to pay for it, but you can actually play the mobile version of this game. Just a little a blurb about that. You may not even want to buy the game after you play the digital version, because all of the upkeep and stuff is already done automatically in the app. So you might actually not even want to buy the game after that. But the app version is superb. As a matter of fact, I'd say it is probably the best board game, mobile version of a board game that I've ever played, aside from like the Gloomhaven version, which I thought was really well done. This one is just phenomenal. Like, this game, they animate everything. It's super good. And then the Everdell one was really good too. But Root is definitely a great game. I know, and like I said, I know I've said a lot of negative things, but again, it's just mainly geared towards, hey, maybe not convincing you to buy this unless you are ready for it.
Hey, is it worth it?
Oh yeah, it's worth it. If you're strong enough.
Yes, is Root worth it? Absolutely, if you're strong enough to take the playthrough, right? But apart from that, you're getting a great game. The asymmetry of this game is fantastic. The area control is great. The rules for each of the players is super cool and second to none. Like, there is just, as far as like asymmetric games go, this one is just top tier. It's in the top 100 for a reason. It's sitting, like I said, it's sitting at like an 8.1 on BGG. It is well rated and well respected for a very good reason. Honestly, I think this is the best game from leader games that they've created. And again, if you love the game, there's a ton of expansions that you can buy, really cool asymmetric factions that you can add to the game. There's little hirelings, there's decks that you can buy to make the game even better. And again, it even has a solo mode, which I don't enjoy, but maybe you will. It's a great game. Root is fantastic, and you can find it in a lot of easy to find places. You can get it in Amazon. I just saw it at Target today when I went to visit Target, and I always pass by the board game section because I have to, because I'm a board gamer. And when I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, they had like 3 copies of Root there, and it's not super expensive. I think the game, it retails like maybe $50. Most of the time, you're getting games for like maybe $60 or so, but this game retails at a fairly decent price. You're getting a lot of game for that price, I'm telling you right now. And it's a great game. So if you have the right play group for it, I highly recommend you buy Root. But if you don't like asymmetry in games, if you find it complicated to teach games, this is a game that's not easy to teach. But it does have like a playthrough walkthrough of it. If you do want to try it out, try the app version first and see if it's a game that you like, and then consider picking it up. All right, well, thank you guys for tuning in to this video, and this has been Before You Buy. So if you're interested, check out Root. Maybe not. That's up to you guys. But don't forget, please like, comment, subscribe on these videos, because every single one of those things helps the channel to grow. And if you want to help the channel grow even faster, become a member, because the membership is super cheap, anywhere from $3 to $10 a month, and you get extra content, which is really, really awesome. And so please become a member. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys later. Peace out.